We've got children who have got problems with their behaviour.
And who are feeling very unhappy with their lives.
She was funny, witty and fearless. We miss Brianna so much, and our house feels empty without her laughter.
2 teenagers were found guilty of the brutal murder.
A body has been discovered by dog walkers in woods.
The knife attack had been frenzied and ferocious. The police and paramedics tried desperately to save her, but at 4:02 p.m, the victim is pronounced dead.
Two 16-year-olds obsessed with murder got convicted of killing a girl who was stabbed 28 times in Warrington Park. The two 16-year-olds were found guilty of the senseless murder of Brianna Ghey, a witty, funny, and fearless transgender teenager who was stabbed 28 times in a Warrington Park earlier last year. The murder-obsessed youngsters, Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe, were found guilty unanimously by a jury at Manchester Crown Court on Wednesday, following 4 hours and 40 minutes of deliberations.
Within 36 hours, police make 2 arrests. The alleged killers are just 15 years old. Their names are withheld to protect their identities, but their victim's name is soon known around the world. Her name? Brianna Ghey.
Mrs. Justice Yip said she would sentence the pair next month and consider whether they should waive reporting restrictions so that the killers may be identified.
But after the jury delivered their verdicts, the judge, Mrs. Justice Yip, announced that the names of the killers would be made public on the day of their sentencing.
She told the adolescents that she would have to impose a life sentence, but that she needed to adjourn for additional reports to determine the minimum sentence they must serve. The pair did not react to the verdicts, while their moms wailed in court. Brianna's mother subsequently sought empathy and compassion for the killer's parents, stating they too have lost a child and must live the rest of their lives knowing what their child has done. Jenkinson, who was captivated by serial killers and boasted of watching torture movies on the dark web, claimed she was obsessed with Brianna. She and Brianna had been friends for a few months when she started plotting to kill her, along with Ratcliffe as an accomplice. Jenkinson and Ratcliffe met at Culcheth High School in Warrington and stayed friends after Jenkinson moved to Birchwood High School in the autumn of 2022. Brianna, 16, was murdered, causing particular anguish and anxiety among trans people, despite Cheshire Police saying from the start that they did not believe she was slain because she was transgender. Brianna was betrayed by 2 teens whose sole objective was to experience the thrill of murder, according to Nigel Parr, Senior Investigating Officer for Cheshire Police. This was a senseless murder committed by 2 teenagers who have an obsession with murder, the prosecutor said. Ratcliffe had never met Brianna prior to the murder, which occurred in the middle of the afternoon on February 11, 2023, in Culcheth Linear Park. The teenagers were startled by a couple strolling their dog, and they fled before being seen on CCTV making their way back home very calmly.
Now first, you can see Brianna meeting with Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe. This was filmed at a bus stop before they make their way into the park. Scarlett and Eddie identified by the X and Y above their heads, and there, in the white hoodie, BG, Brianna Ghey. Now later on that day, and some dash camera footage was released after Scarlett and Eddie were picked up by dash cam video leaving the park, but without Brianna.
In the days leading up to the murder, the defendants exchanged thousands of WhatsApp messages discussing which children they planned to kill. Plans to murder another youngster were abandoned after they failed to lure him to Culcheth Linear Park, so they turned their attention to Brianna, who, according to the court, did not go out often and suffered from anxiety. The footage showed the killers, Jenkinson and Ratcliffe, clearly meeting Brianna where she was last seen. The boy referred to Brianna as prey and it in his messages, adding she would be much easier to kill and I want to see if it will scream like a man or a girl. Despite having been friends since they were 11, Jenkinson and Ratcliffe turned against each other following their arrests. The girl initially made up a narrative about Brianna going off with some lad from Manchester, before altering her case and claiming that the boy was responsible for her death. Ratcliffe blamed the murder on Jenkinson, claiming that he was urinating against a tree in the park when he turned around to see Jenkinson killing Brianna. The jury was advised that they did not need to determine which of the teenagers stabbed Brianna to convict them of the joint enterprise murder.
Obviously you are under caution, so anything you say is getting recorded. Okay.
What if me being suspect is because I was the last person seen it, or how come I'm suspect?
Pardon?
How come I'm a suspect?
How come you're a suspect?
Because I'm the last person that's seen it, or is it?
I don't know. All the information I've received is you are a suspect, okay, for the murder. Yeah.
Jenkinson acted as innocent as she possibly could during her arrest, pretending she did not even know what was happening. Ratcliffe informed police that the girl was not a normal person and claimed to be a Satanist in Year 8. He stated she informed him she had killed twice previously, but he wasn't sure if he believed her, because the murders hadn't made the press. Police discovered no evidence of other killings.
You Eddie?
Yeah.
Eddie, you're locked up suspicion of murder, alright? You don't have to say anything, but you may harm you eventually when questioned, so you later line in court, and if you do say evidence, do you understand?
Yeah. Well, just unlock these. I can't explain it.
No, listen.
Right, listen.
Do it all on interview, alright? Yeah. You're going to take it to the wrong corner, you'll be interviewed about it, they'll ask you questions, alright?
Yeah.
Ratcliffe was arrested while the officer read his rights to him, and he didn't even try to protest or put up a fight. After detectives faced Ratcliffe with the forensic evidence against him, which included Brianna's blood on a haunting knife found in his bedroom, as well as on his trainers and clothes, he stopped talking and has been silent since being placed into safe custody, speaking only to his mother. The judge pronounced her concern on hearing that Jenkinson had expressed the desire to kill again after her conviction. Jenkinson admitted taking part in the stabbing and had previously blamed Ratcliffe for the murder. The court heard that Brianna was stabbed 28 times, but there is no evidence that her killers took any of her body parts.
Brianna had been living as a girl for 2 years since she was 14. Her mum talked about her being quite a contradictory character because she was very outgoing online. She had 31,000 followers on TikTok and she was very outgoing, did a lot of videos about makeup and what she was wearing and was very confident online. But in real life, she was actually quite an anxious child. She struggled to go to school. Her mum said that...
Brianna's mother, Esther Ghey, said that despite her daughter's anxiety and mental health issues, she was very outgoing and very confident and aspired to be TikTok famous. The court heard she did not go out alone frequently and contacted her mother on the way to meet her killers, claiming she was scared because there were so many people on the bus. However, she had a significant online following, with her dance routines and skits attracting friends from all over the world. Esther praised her daughter as larger than life, as well as funny, witty, and fearless following the judgments.
Brianna was larger than life. She was funny, witty, and fearless. We miss Brianna so much, and our house feels empty without her laughter.
It's difficult to comprehend how some people can do these vile things in the world and don't understand how cruel and heartbreaking their actions can be.
Jenkinson informed the jury that Brianna was bullied at school because she was transgender, but her head teacher argued otherwise. There was no forensic evidence linking Jenkinson to the weapon, and no spots of blood were found on her clothing. In her post-conviction confession, she claimed that was because they had been washed. An initial psychiatric assessment suggested she had traits of autism and ADHD, but the psychiatrist changed his diagnosis post-conviction, saying she had a severe form of the conduct dissocial disorder, one of the features of which is having no empathy. The judge concluded that the primary motivation for Brianna's murder was her deep desire to kill, and the messages revealed her fantasies and sadistic motives. After his arrest, Ratcliffe was diagnosed with autism, and the judge accepted that his social skills were not as developed as most people of your age. The trial was delayed for months as the legal team struggled to take instructions from him. Following the verdicts, the Crown Prosecution Service stated, "This has been one of the most distressing cases the Crown Prosecution Service has had to deal with. The planning, violence, and age of the killers are unbelievable." Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe, aged 16, have been convicted of the brutal murder of a vulnerable young girl Brianna, who they thought were her friends. They have been given a life term and have shown no remorse. Esther Jai, a critic, expressed sympathy for the killers, but also noted that they had no empathy for Brianna, leaving her bleeding to death after their premeditated attack, not because they had done anything wrong, but because they hated trans people. If you want more bone-chilling tales of murders, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe before you leave.